Boa noite, com rock e filosofia. Comigo, Thiago Bianchi, no YouTube da Kiss FM. Boa noite, com rock e filosofia. Cara, que 15 de dezembro mais especial. Eu estou realmente muito feliz de estar aqui mais uma vez. Este é o programa de número, não sei, não tenho a menor ideia, porque cada programa é uma viagem que eu me perco completamente e fico pensando, cara, esse foi o melhor. Puta que pariu, esse foi o melhor. Aí vem o outro e é cada vez melhor. E eu só posso dizer que eu estou profundamente agradecido e emocionado pela grande Kiss FM nos deixar pilotar esse Boeing durante algumas horas aqui toda semana. Então, um grande beijo a todos vocês, nação roqueira, que nos recebem aqui toda terça-feira, pontualmente às 9 da noite. Então, vou começar já com os agradecimentos de sempre. Um grande beijo no coração do Paul Martins e do Evaldo Bozo, meus padrinhos de emissora aqui, né? Os caras que bancaram este garoto D'Artagnan do Largo da Batata que vos fala. E vai começar já, né, para dar um beijar a bunda deles, lamber o saco, tudo isso que vocês acham que eu faço mesmo, porque eu amo aqueles dois, cara. Eles realmente me colocaram aqui. Isso para mim é incrível. Sempre quando alguém acredita no potencial de outra pessoa, ainda mais nesse mundo que a gente vive hoje em dia, tão difícil, onde tudo está cada vez tão complicado, e alguém acreditar em você pura e simplesmente por intuição, eu acho que essa pessoa com certeza tem uma conexão com o cosmos, e isso é muito bom. Então, um grande beijo, Paul e Evaldo, muito obrigado. Um beijo a todos vocês novamente, a Nação Roqueira. E vamos lá, vamos abrir com os trabalhos técnicos, né? Um grande beijo a todos vocês que trabalham aqui no Boa Noite, com a Kiss FM, e são eles, né, barra elas. A Hobbs Bianchi, minha doce Hobbs, que faz a produção aqui para que tudo funcione muito bem durante a transmissão. A Juliana Amaral, que faz a pesquisa e garante que eu não fale um monte de besteira aqui, já que eu já vou falar de qualquer jeito. A Adriana Baldin, que laça todos os convidados e vai tirando um da cartola, outro do bolso. Ela é a maior mágica que ela faz toda semana é que esse programa esteja no ar com convidados, muito graças a ela. Então, um grande beijo, muito obrigado. O Carlos Fides, que é o nosso Derek Riggs brasileiro. Quem não sabe, o Derek Riggs é o cara que desenha lá a Ed, né, do Iron Maiden. Nós temos um aqui brasileiro que é o Carlos Fides, o nosso personal Derek Riggs. E o Daniel Mazza, que veio dizer hoje que, putz, não posso, estou com dor de cabeça e tal. E aí eu resolvi dizer, foda-se, Daniel Mazza, vem pra cá, produtor de núcleo, wingman. Depois você pode sair, fazer uma cara de bobo.
Só
sair,
porque
falar, tudo bom,
sim,
meu.
né?
Galera,
Pô,
desculpa.
você me colocou lá, meu. Cara, você tá me colocando só por causa do like, né? É só por causa do like, cara, eu sei.
E aí, tudo bem? Você melhorou?
Cara, estou deveras melhorando.
Puta, que legal, Daniel. Então, vamos...
Tchau!
Não derruba nada aí. Mas você melhorou mesmo, cara? É
Tô
Covid essa
melhorando,
porra?
Cara, eu vou sair hoje porque eu não quero atrapalhar também. Vão ter 3 convidados lindos. 4, na verdade, com você.
Eles são bonitos mesmo, cara.
E eu vou ficar aqui.
Que noite especial. Vai, fala pra mim. Eu quero dizer, eu tô até preparado aqui, deixei preparado. Olha, só teve até ontem tivemos até um eclipse em homenagem, né, ao nosso dia de hoje. O eclipse foi ontem em homenagem ao dia de hoje. Mas tudo bem, sem maiores delongas, porque o tempo é curto, eu quero introduzir esses convidados maravilhosos. Galera, como vocês sabem, eu vou fazer aqui um inglês-português, vou tentar traduzir o que eu puder. Vocês fiquem aí, tentem acompanhar, é legal para vocês também culturalmente tentar entender. Dá para entender, todo mundo aqui aprendeu inglês na marra, e é isso que é bom, vocês tentarem se enfiar aí para entender o que a gente está falando, e vamos que vamos, façam perguntas, se joguem. So, I want to introduce this legend. I'm so happy, so thrilled for this guy to be here. I can't express myself, because I fucking love this guy, man. He's one of the biggest names in the whole bass world from heavy metal industry. co-founder of one of the most prolific and successful metal bands in the world that sold more than 20 million records. Oh my God, this is right. 20 million records over the years. And of course, I'm talking about the Grammy winning legendary band Megadeth. And now he has recently announced his own solo project, an LP called No Cover. So please welcome the bass legend, Mr. David Ellefson.
How are you? How you doing? What's going on, man?
Hey, oh my God. I can't believe it's you, man.
Your studio's bigger than mine. I should come over to your place.
Oh no, just man, thanks for being here.
Hey,
And you're welcome. Maybe someday we can track you here, track you on bass of yours here. Maybe with Kiko. I recorded a lot of Kiko's tracks. Produced 2 albums of him.
Nice.
So maybe one day we can bring you here when you come. One of your travels to Brazil. You come here a lot, right? And maybe one day we can bring you here. And hey, just for you to know, I don't know if you can look at this.
Very nice.
Megadeth and Metallica.
Got 2 of the big 4 there.
Yes, exactly.
Very nice. Thank you. Appreciate
that. When I said that I love you, it's like I'm not kidding.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
It's really I'm really happy. Well, our time is short, so I will introduce our next guest, and we'll do a Q&A, just a hangout, having some chat among pals. Okay. So let me introduce this guy, this fella. He's one of the biggest guitar players in the world, period. He was one of the finalists of the Guitar Superstar of the Year from the legendary Guitar Player mag. He's also founder member of the one of the most incredible hard rock bands ever, a dream team of metal, a little band called Adrenaline Mob. And now my partner in crime as the guitar player, also the guitar player of the Brazilian, super band, my band, Noturnall. So, come down, Mr. Mike Orlando.
Hey. What an introduction, my God. Jesus.
Yeah, I never told you that, so I was like waiting to tell everybody this here, you know, because when you're here, we don't talk too much, right?
We're always working, working.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to be here, Dave. What's up? It's a pleasure.
Yes, Mike. How are you, buddy?
Man, it's always great, man.
So it sounds like you're going to be spending more time down in Brazil now that you guys are in a band together, right?
You know, I've been down there. We've probably I just officially joined Noturnall, but prior to that, I probably have done a couple hundred shows there as far as guitar clinics and just as a guest with these guys. I mean,
right.
So it's like my second home. These guys are such top-notch people, top-notch musicians. You know, I just love them. They're like family.
It's funny. Let me ask you this: there's the musical quality outside the U.S. is staggeringly good, right? And I noticed it years ago. Obviously, in Canada, our neighbors, you know, in Canada, of course, we had Rush and Triumph and these things, Loverboy, even, right? The quality of their records and their sound.
Yeah.
But you know, I just noticed kind of overall there was a quality about it, and of course, the things in the U.S. You know, now there's a lot of rap and there's hip hop and that kind of stuff, which is a different style and a different, you know, genre, different audience. And rock is kind of, you know, they say rock is dead, but people in America don't seek after rock the way that they used to. And obviously country music has always been big. And now it's not even called country. Now it's just called the Nashville sound. It's Nashville music, right? Because there's a pipeline that goes between LA and Nashville with managers. You know, there's duets between Nashville artists and Justin Bieber. I mean, you know, there's a pipeline, right? And of course, hip hop is you know, largely a sound. At least it started out as a sound for urban areas, big cities. You know, Los Angeles, New York. Obviously, it started there. But you know, it's interesting how like my Ellefson solo band is half Italian, and the quality of what they do over there is amazing. I mean, it's so good. And the our mixer Alessio's up in London. So same thing, you know, of course, then, you know, knowing Kiko much better now, you know, being in Megadeth, the quality of the people that I see him working with across, you know, Brazil, the people that he worked with in Europe, it's just fantastic. And I don't know, in many ways, the younger musicians seem to be, I hate to say it, more advanced than some of the stuff that I see coming out of America. Like almost like guitar rock music is more desired outside of the U.S. than it is here. What do you think? What's your thoughts on that?
100%. I mean, you know, when I was a kid, it was, you know, play, learn, 10 hours a day, you know, woodshedding, spinning that vinyl and the needle back and forth. You know, we didn't have, I didn't have, you know, tablature or YouTube or anything.
Right.
And, you know, so there was more of a passion for the instrument to want to learn and to get to the next level, to the next level, to the next level. These guys over there and pretty much everywhere outside the US, it's still that way. They're just, they keep climbing the stairs, you know, they take it to unbelievable levels. And I think it's also the passion. I always say this about overseas, because, you know, I love everywhere we play. We wouldn't do what we do if it wasn't for the one person or the 100,000 people, you know, when we get to go play Rock in Rio and all these great places. But the passion is a little more intense over there, you know, for the same music that I listened to in 1985. Like there's no deadline for it to be out of phase.
Right. Well, there was also, you know, it's funny talking like the guys at Disturbed. I remember Dave Draymond, you know, we did a Rockstar Energy Drink Mayhem tour one year, and it was Disturbed, Godsmack, Megadeth, Machine Head. Yeah. And I knew the Disturbed guys a bit, and, you know, talking with Draymond one night, we were talking about production, video production and these kind of things. Actually, this morning over breakfast, actually at the hotel. And, you know, they were trying to make the push to get overseas, and you know, looking at a lot of the bands that did the sort of active rock radio thing, they never got overseas. Even Nicky Sixx said, he goes, man, we could never lose the production and just go down with a wall of Marshalls and go to South America, you know. So it was interesting talking, you know, with a lot of our friends, you know, because the success was so big in America. There was so much money to be made. You know, Motley Crue could play 2 or 3 nights in arenas in every city on Dr. Feelgood, you know. And a lot of the groups, Rob Zombie, Godsmack, that whole genre, they were able to just take it around the track over here in America and make their money. And I know, you know, Godsmack early on, I remember was supporting Megadeth over in the UK. And Disturbed did the same thing. And then I remember like a couple years later, like bang, they're over there, you know, at you know, really hitting a stride, playing over Megadeth even on festivals across Europe, and really made a concerted effort to break those markets, because you know, thank God, because America's kind of, that hasn't dried up, but there's a different interest in music over here, and it's not the fever that it was in the 90s or even the 80s, obviously. So it's, and I guess that all leads back to, you know, Latin America for Megadeth. When we went there, we played Rock in Rio in '91, but when we went down and we did,
I hate to say, I'm sorry, David, but I hate to say I'm a Brazilian, of course, and we have you guys know about the, I don't know, the kind of a little beef that we have with Argentina, right? But
Kiko pointed it out. As we were sitting backstage in Argentina, he said, "I'm trying to figure this out now," you know. So
because of the I think it's because of the soccer, because we have Pele and they have Maradona and stuff, and because it's a silly thing.
That's exactly what he said. He goes, "I wonder." He goes, Megadeth is really popular in Brazil, but there's a little extra something in Argentina. And he drew the soccer comparison. So that night back at the hotel, some fans were at the hotel and just hanging out, and I said, I got a question for you, not for nothing, but Kiko brought this up, and I ran it by him, and they're like, oh, absolutely, 100% true, you know. So I was like, leave it to Kiko. I tell you, Kiko's been great because you know, lots of times, you know, like he's pointed out a couple of significant things with Megadeth. One is that, you know, so Rock in Rio was, rest in peace, we really broke into all of Latin America on the Euthanasia record. That's when we did Chile, Argentina, and I think Sao Paulo for the first time.
Yeah.
And really made a, you know, that's when we really broke in. So he said, he goes, look, I was very young. I was at those shows. He said, you know, Megadeth, as much as you guys had your catalog of the 80s, like the fans in Latin America got to know Megadeth in the 90s. So some of this earlier stuff wasn't as popular. I thought, oh, that's interesting. So as we were putting the set list together, and of course now there's younger fans that have grown up and gone back and bought this stuff, but we paid attention to that. And then the other thing was, you know, sometimes we'll have these songs that are really notey and riffy, and generally over those songs, you can't write a big arena rock chorus, you know, it's more of a narrative. It's a storytelling, you know. I think of like Fatal Illusion off Dystopia. Even The Conjuring off Peace Sells. There's like this storyline. And Kiko pointed out, he said, because the problem when we play overseas is people don't understand English, so they can't follow the story. Right. And especially if they're a younger fan, or, you know, not everybody knows these songs, especially if it's off of, like, say, Dystopia, which was a new album we were promoting at the time. He said, not everybody knows that song yet, you know, because it hasn't been around for 20 years. So when we play it, he goes, people are trying to listen and pay attention. So the response isn't going to be as, and if they don't understand English, they're going to just stand there and go, what the hell are these guys talking about? You know? So it's, you know, Kiko has really been a great, you know, he's a sharp guy. You know, he's a very sharp guy. Yeah. Aside from his playing, he's got a real brain working up there. You know, and so he's been really effective as we go around the world, and especially into Latin America. You know, to really play the sensitivities of building a show and a set list.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you guys remind me a band. That you were talking about, that bands that don't do so many shows not overseas, but here down in South America. And I just remembered Van Halen. It was a band that was here like just once and never again. And that's pretty weird. So before I start the questions for you guys, I just reminded that you two have a lot in common with Van Halen, because your David has this really famous story of the bum 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 bum. The
8 notes changed my life. Yeah, exactly. But just goes to show, stop fucking playing so many notes. Just play the simple notes. Those are the money notes. Yeah,
exactly. And also, of course, Mike, his first. I know that one of his first solos were Eruption. Is that right, Mike? Is that something like that?
One of them. Yeah. One of the rock ones. You know, because I didn't start with rock. So.
Yeah, but my question is, how was for you guys this terrible loss? Like, what's the legacy you think?
Mike, I'll let you go first. You're a guitar player.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're all simply still just in, you know, utter disbelief.
Did he change your life?
Yeah, of course. Are you kidding me? Eddie was the king. You know, there was, for guitar players, I'm gonna just say guitar players, period, because you don't have to be a rock guy. You don't have to be a metal. Enough of that. Guitar is guitar, the 6 strings. Eddie took that to an unbelievable level. You know, you didn't have to like a certain, you could be in a black metal band and still love Eddie Van Halen, you know, while he's up there smiling from ear to ear, giving everything he's got. You know, it's all heart, it's all passion. I mean, he changed my life, you know, so I still can't believe he's not here. You know, it's just, I almost don't have any words still. The hairs are just standing up on my arms because it's Eddie. You know, what can you say? My God. You know.
Yeah.
I'm
Totally.
sure, Dave, you feel the same way.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
to
it's
play
funny.
anything.
Yeah, you know, the thing about Eddie is he had charisma in his playing. And it wasn't just about the notes. It wasn't just even about the riffs. We know all that, right? These things have been recorded. You know, yesterday I saw that thing where he went over to Jason Becker's house and gave him a guitar and he's sitting around. And it's funny when I used to read his interviews in Guitar Player magazine when I was a kid and go, oh my God, he's so humble, he's so cool. I want to be just like him. I mean, I want to be like him, and I'm a bass player, right? And I wanted to be like Eddie. And I learned how to tap and do all this stuff because of Eddie. You know what I mean? I mean, in the bass world, Jaco Pastorius was already Van Halen, you know, but it was jazz. It was a different genre. I didn't play like that, you know, and I still don't. So Eddie to me was the guy, and his band, his songs, his sound. But, you know, watching that thing yesterday when he was over at Becker's house, you know, I always felt like when I met Mustaine, he was very much like an Eddie Van Halen. He had this same sort of unguarded charisma. People flock to him. When I sit with Dave, he'll come up with something and it's like it's channeled through him from another dimension. And it was so cool to hear Eddie say that in that Becker thing. He goes, hey man, it's not me. It just gets channeled through me. Probably the difference with Eddie is unlike probably 80 million other guitar players who all want to take credit for how great they are. Eddie was the only one who said, hey, it's not me. It just comes through me. I mean, that right there is probably the thing that makes Eddie the greatest of the greats, is that he wasn't, he was 96. I mean, Van Halen was at the top of the world and had been for a decade at that point, you know? So he understood his place in the ranking of sort of, you know, the stars and the planets and the gods of the universe, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I think that's a charm about him. I remember Ryan Downey, you know, who you know, probably, right? He's got a nice, he manages Demon Hunter, and he's does an email industry chart list that a lot of us are subscribed to. And he did a thing when Eddie died that week, and he said, he goes, you know, Eddie was a guy out of all the guitar players, because we all put our mean face on, you know, we're all like, and Eddie was smiling ear to ear, like it was, he was really at his perfect piece. And then again, he even said it in the Becker thing. He goes, man, when I'm on stage, that's when no one can fuck with me, man. That's when no one can get to me. I'm here on the stage, and that was his happy spot. And you could see it in all the MTV videos, all the shows. He just was really in the moment. And the other thing that I noticed, you know, like watching him noodle and play, you know, he went through the same thing all of us do, which is he had to be produced too. You know, he had a lot of great ideas, but somebody had to harness those ideas, whether it was him, the other band guys, obviously Ted Templeman, eventually even Mick Jones, right, from Foreigner. Didn't he produce 5150? Yeah. So producers have come into Van Halen to make them who they are, and that's something that outsiders would never understand. And you don't have to, because we're in the business. You're there to be entertained by us. But when you get in the studio and you got all these ideas, and even if you've got the perfect song, a producer, his job is to make great, just that much greater, you know what I mean? And that it's that big, that little spot, you know what I mean? And to really, and so and obviously Ted Templeman in the beginning did that. You know, he knew how to, and they talk about how the first Van Halen record and the second Van Halen record, some of them are the same songs. And I get that, because I was Megadeth. In fact, Killing Is My Business and Peace Sells, a lot of those songs were written at the same time. Yeah. Some of the stuff, you know, was Peace Sells was even written first before, so you know what I mean? But at some point you decide this is a body of songs that works with as an album. Yeah. And then Peace Sells, you know, that's a body, you know what I mean? So, and it's cool to see Van. So there's I find a lot of comparisons, you know. Dave's kind of a surfer beach kid, just like Eddie, you know, and so I always kind of got a lot of these comparisons, and Dave would do that. You know, he was always exploring, you know, putting his thumb over to play, you know, like to get an extra 3 frets. playing up onto the bars on this Bill Lawrence pickup on his rich bitch, so he could go up past the 24 frets and get up to where there's like 30 frets, you know. And that was what Eddie was. Is Eddie was just, I'm hearing something, and this guitar as it is isn't getting me there. What can I grab out of the kitchen cupboard or the garage or off of the surfboard wax, whatever, that I can just get to where I'm hearing this thing in my head. Yeah. And you see the Beach Boys movie, Brian Wilson was like that. You know, he would drive his band crazy trying to get the perfect. It's almost there. One more take, you know. And
at balance, Bruce it was Bruce Fairbank that produced Balance. Man, the work on that record never saw nothing like that until this day. Like I think it was Bruce Fairbank. That sound of guitar that they put the mic also in front of the guitar to take the strings also besides the amp, and with the drum sounds. Well, it was, for me, he was the I think he was the second, or I don't know what to say, Jimi Hendrix or Van Halen, but you know, it was like tough fight over there. Who's number one? I think.
Well, and there is no number one. There is no fast. There's no. It's like saying, do you like chocolate or vanilla pudding? I don't know. Today I'll take vanilla. Tomorrow I want chocolate. You know. And again, there is no. What's your favorite record? When people ask me that in interviews, I go, I don't answer those questions. I have no favorite color, no favorite band. I don't have a favorite bass. I don't have a favorite kid, you know. I don't have a favorite car. Like, you know, I'll take all of them. You know what I mean? It's you know, because there's a place for all of it in life. And I think, you know, with Eddie, no, we haven't really heard too much from Van Halen for a while. Obviously, I think we're all happy that there was a Roth reunion. We're talking about doing getting Michael Anthony.
I was waiting
back
for
in
the
band.
Sammy Hagar reunion.
Yeah, well, in fact, especially for Michael Anthony, for me, and I got to know Wolfie, and he's a great kid, and.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He got to as we invited him up to sing with us on a Metal Allegiance set. We were ironically running a Shiprock cruise doing the Van Halen record top to bottom, and inviting people up. And Wolfie was there playing bass for Mark Tremonti. So we me and Frank Bello were. It's funny. We were in the chapel on the boat going over the lyrics and the boat and the harmonies for "Running with the Devil" of all sacrilegious things. Father, forgive us, right? but Wolfie, you know, he said, and Eddie had said it too. He goes, you know, basically Wolfie got Van Halen back together. You know, got his dad off the couch, got the whole thing back together, and got it going. And and was really the inspiration. And Wolfie's doing such a great job now with just carrying on the legacy of his dad, and as you know, you would hope he would. And he's a good kid and a fantastic musician, you know. So
he's incredible. Hey,
the one thing I say about Eddie Van Halen is, and you can't say this about tons of players, but when they say that it's truly in the hands. It really is. Like I remember I was doing like a signing after a show, and this was in China in an instrumental tour I was doing, and they're so polite there. You know, they wait their turns, and they go around. If they want 3 pictures, they come 3 times around. My God!
Unlike in America, come on, dude, I want 3 selfies. Yeah. Drunk.
Exactly.
Fuck you. Yeah, right.
So some kid brought like this guitar for me to sign, and it was truly amazing. It was like a $10,000, you know, piece of art. It was amazing. And then the next person brought something, but he was almost embarrassed, and because it was, you know, it was kind of not so good, you know. I said to the kid, I said, "Man, never forget something. Eddie Van Halen did Eruption on a $140 guitar. It's not the guitar, man. It's you know, and it lit the kid's eyes up, and I felt, you know, I felt better because he really was like embarrassed to show it to me. I'm like, no, man, give me that. That's cool, you know. And that's true. It's in his hands, man.
It really, it always is in the hands, man. It's and I think probably, I don't know about you, but I think that's probably one of the greatest achievements. You know, people say, what's the greatest achievement? It's like, like Rock in Rio, getting a Grammy. These are wonderful hallmark moments. But I think for me, probably the most proud moment is when I pick up a bass and it sounds like me. You know, I go in the studio and it sounds like me. And as a bass player, it's a little different because sometimes you're hired in, hey, we just need some bass. Just kind of just lay it down, right? And that's when it's time I turn David Ellefson off and I just be a bass player. Just play it, hunger down. And then there's other times, most of the time, when people hire me to say, hey, we want the guy from Megadeth. We want Ellefson here. Give us put the stank on the note and give us the tone, you know?
Yeah.
And they want that. So, and that's what they're paying me for, is not just the bass part. They want my personality and my charisma. And I think you're right, Mike, when you pick up an instrument and it is you. And that's, you know, whether it's Kenny G, Eddie Van Halen, Mike Orlando, David Ellefson, James Hetfield, whoever it is, when you hear it, you go, I know exactly who that is. You know, that is a defining moment, I think, as an artist, is to be defined by one or two notes, and you're like, I know who that is. You know, that's cool.
that bass Jackson of yours is still like, I record a lot of people like with that bass here, and like, hey, I love this bass because I make me sound a little bit like Megadeth, you know. Like,
I did leave a little of me in that bass when they made it. They took some of my DNA, they tied me up and slit my. It's like when Kiss put their blood in the comic book they did the Marvel comic. Yeah, right. So they did that on the bass. So there is a little of me in the bass. So yeah,
it's a lot of you. Let me just translate a little bit, because it's impossible just to tell our Brazilian audience here.
That's right. I forgot. They don't understand. It's like what Kiko said. They don't understand us, right? So,
that's right. Galera, não dá pra trazer, a gente tá tendo papo aqui. Bom, vocês estão sacando com a gente, tá falando de Van Halen, de Megadeth, dos instrumentos, da perda que foi significante para eles. Ambos têm em comum aí o Van Halen em suas vidas. A música Running with the Devil foi a música que basicamente colocou o David Ellefson no Megadeth, que ele ficava tocando aquelas notinhas do começo, e o David foi lá gritar com ele, e a história é bem famosa, depois dei um Google aí. O Mike estava contando de quão importante isso é estar na mão dele, o som, que a importância do guitarrista, a mão dele tem que soar muito bem e tal, e por aí vai. Vocês têm que... Vocês acho que dá para entender. David, I think
somebody's calling you, by the way. Somebody's calling you.
Somebody's calling. Is it you, Mike?
It's not me. It's not me. It's not Mike. Somebody's phone is buzzing.
It's not me. Yeah,
I think they have a really important question they want to ask.
Please translate that. It was one of the Brazilian. Okay. Speaking of covers, hey David, please tell us about your no cover. I'm following your videos, and
I have one right here.
It's been an amazing journey. Oh yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, so about that.
Yeah,
please.
So the Ellefson band, we put out a record last year called Sleeping Giants. Several new tracks, some other older tracks we just had in the vault. Our plan was to put out the second one here in 2020, and as we saw the world lock down, we just knew that bad timing to put out a new record. So we quickly pivoted and just said, hey, how about we bang out some cover songs? So one phone call between us, we had about 5 or 6 songs. Second call, we had like 10 songs. And then, Mike, how it is. It's like, hey, how about this one? How about that one? And next thing you know, we had friggin' 18 songs. And then we finally said, okay, we got to stop now, So, but it's just a labor of love. Mostly songs just from when I was a kid. Everything from Wasted by Def Leppard, Riff Raff by AC/DC, Not Fragile, BTO, Alvider's by Cheap Trick. These were records that I grew up on. They were the records that changed my life and ultimately got me introduced to those bands. So we recovered really from 1974 to 1994. Nailed to the Gun kind of being the last one of the 90s that we put on this record. And it's we didn't intend it to actually be an all-star record. It's just that once we got into it, we had been doing some live streams. My singer, Tom Hazard, and I do some live streams on StreamYard, just like you're doing. And, we were just kind of like, look, maybe we should call our friends. In fact, I think first Tom was was chatting with Charlie Benante from Anthrax, and he said, "Hey, man,
insane track,
you want to jam on a couple of tunes with us?" And he said, "Yeah, I'd love to. I'm freaking bored out of my mind. We can't write an Anthrax record, right? Everybody's stuck, you know." So that's how it started. And then I called Jimmy DeGrasso. We got Chuck Beeler. It's funny. We got all the drummers. The drummers were the easy ones on this. And it's funny because, you know, Dave McClain just killed it, knocked it out of the park. And it's nice that everybody's got some kind of home recording thing that they could access. And, you know, a record like this, even 10 years ago, would have been more difficult. But today, you know, everybody's got home recording. We can send files back and forth. And I would hit Andy Martingelli in Italy at night before I went to bed, say, hey, can you bang out these 4 tunes? And I'd wake up 8 hours later and they'd be sitting right here on my laptop, and I'd just plug in and start carving bass. And so we were kind of this little 24-hour round the clock little, you know, hit factory here, banging these tunes out. And so we put it together. Yeah, it just came out November 20th through Ear Music. And it's just, again, it's just been, I kind of look at it like it's a victory lap and a celebration of the good things of 2020, you know, friends making music with friends.
It's incredible.
Fun songs.
Incredible
work. Just
congratulations, man.
Yeah, thank you. Just something that's positive and a good way to end the year, you know.
It's great. Nice. I love Andy. Andy is great, man.
Isn't he great? A lot of it. Andy is a real life Power Ranger, right? He just drinks a lot of espresso, and he's like, "Oh, we fight, we kill, we melt faces and die," and you know,
with the hands, right?
He's so much energy. And it's funny, you know, I had a little cover band called Hail back in the late 2000s. Me, Andreas Kisser, your neighbor there. It started with Jimmy DeGrasso on drums, and then Tim Rip Owens. And every gig we did, and they were just small little clubs, you know, just playing covers. And it's funny that he would plug into a Marshall, whatever one they provided at the gig, and he would turn the volume up, and like all boats rose to that level, just like that's where it is. And I always called Andreas, I called him the Brazilian bull, you know, because he's just got such power, right? And Andy's the same way. He's just he's a power guy. So like the energy and the ferociousness and the vitality really is kind of benchmarked by Andy Martingelli, you know. So it's great to have a guy like that just sort of sets the tone of the recording, you know.
Incredible. Yeah. Congratulations, man. I want to hear more. I'm dying to watch this live, really live. But hey, Mike, before I send you a question, let me introduce our other guest.
Yes.
He's one. You guys were talking about Canadians musicians.
Yeah.
So he's one of the most talented drummers of this new generation. He plays on this young and incredible Canadian band called Fawcett. And of course, by the way, he happens to be son of one of the biggest voices in the musical industry. Someone that I'm proud to call my friend and a godfather, his father, Mr. Chance Labrie. So come on down, Mr. Chance Labrie, please.
Hey guys.
Hey buddy, what's happening?
Wow.
Hello.
I'm so stoked, to be honest, guys. This is crazy.
Funny, the last time I saw your dad was in São Paulo, banging out the in fact that's where I met Kiko. Was that was the
like a Metal All-Stars?
Yeah, it's like a Metal All-Stars. Yes, we
were just talking about that actually. So he met you there. He's met you a ton of times. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
It was at the venue there. I forgot the name. What is it? The Hall of America or whatever the thing is called that we always play at. But so it was great getting to meet your dad. I've obviously seen him around, you know, but I didn't get a chance to be on stage and work with him before. So
hey, check his band out. It's awesome, man.
I will, absolutely.
Incredible. This guy is very talented.
Awesome.
Hey.
I appreciate it.
And hey, Chance, hang around a little bit. Let me make a question to Mike, my buddy. Mike, so tell us about Adrenaline Mob. It's one of the greatest bands that ever existed in this world. So what is it? What's the story there? People here in Brazil, people thought in the beginning that it was a Mike Portnoy's band because it's so drummy. You know, I don't know if there's such a word, but and then all of a sudden people discovered that no, it was you, right? You brought the band together. What's the story there?
Yeah, Adrenaline Mob was something I had been doing for years before it got formed in 2010. I had been working though with Russell Allen for a few years before that, but it was for something totally different, just a possible solo endeavor of his. And on the side, I was doing what became Adrenaline Mob, and you know, the American album in its infancy. You know, through a few years and different singers and stuff like that. It actually used to be called Adrenaline Fueled Junkies because I'm a drag racer. So you know, I'm the adrenaline junkie, I guess. So one of the singers kind of had to go back to one of his touring acts, which he wasn't doing at the time, but then he had to. So I brought the stuff to Russell, and there you go. You know, say, hey man, why don't we sing on a few tracks of these, which ended up being Indifferent, Angel Sky, and another track from Omerta, our debut album, and there you go. You know, that formed the sound, the true sound, which became, you know, the music of myself and, you know, the mighty roar of Russell Allen's, you know, mountainous vocals. So that's how it became, you know, and I mean, the story, you know, goes on, and the amazing Mike Portnoy came into the mix, and Mike just took the band to another level completely. You know, I love him dearly. He's one of the greatest drummers on the planet, you know, and talk about passion and heart and fire, you know, it's all there, man. That's something that draws me to a player, is just from the heart, you know, that passion that just oozes out of someone. You just know it's there, you know. And Mike's you know, so, you know, lots of tours, lots of albums later, and you know, unfortunately, you know, one of the most horrific accidents that ever happened. So, you know,
Hey, do you wanna talk about that?
No, you know, I mean, it's just you know, that's kind of the period of the, you know, of the whole thing. But I mean, you know, I love the Adrenaline Mob. It's you know, I miss it dearly, and you know, that was my heart, my blood, my sweat, my tears. You know, everything I put in that. So, you know, thank you for you know, the nice introduction to it. And,
no, but man, it's I hope you guys even maybe we could arrange some tour in the future, do it together, the two bands. You're gonna play like for 4 hours. Wouldn't you like that?
It'll be only Mike.
Yeah, only Mike. It's Mike's tour. It's the name of the tour. Orlando's tour.
Adrenaline Man instead of Adrenaline Mob.
Oh, that's great. That's good. That's Andy with the drink.
Exactly. We will shred and fire and kill and man.
Hey, speaking of the man, David, tell us a little bit about the phase that you left Megadeth in 2002, and it's a question that at least here in Brazil people asked a lot. Because you a sweetheart. You can tell by your interviews, the way you treat people. You know, you're such a sweet guy. And how come what Dave did? Is he that difficult? It's really because here he's a legend. Like, no, that man. No, everybody is afraid to talk to him.
Well, here's the deal. So Dave called me up one day in February of 2002 and said, he goes, look, I quit Megadeth. You know, he had some personal things that I think he's talked about in his memoir. and for the reasons why he had to step away from it. And so at that point, the band was over. It was done. We didn't dissolve our business interest because Dave and I were the owners. But so we kind of left that there. And, you know, the next couple of years went on. I got a job. We're doing artist relations for Peavey. I ran their global artist relations program, which was really cool. I really enjoyed that. You know, for 20 years in Megadeth, of course, another 7 or 8 years before that, you know, I was always you know, pretty much solely just a musician and in a band. And as I got older, and especially once I got married and started having kids and raising a family, I started going, holy shit, this is insane to put my whole life in one egg basket, you know, all eggs in one basket of being in a band. Because we know how bands are, and especially Megadeth is a real rock and roll band. I mean, we're like the Sex Pistols and Motley Crue and Guns N' Roses all in one. You know, it's
yeah, exactly.
You know, and that's part of the. Again, I talked about the charisma earlier. That's part of the charisma, is that it's a band that's right up to the wall, always on the edge, and that's part of the charm. That's what the fans like about it. It's dangerous, you know. So one day, you know, the nightmare happens, which is the band is over. And I was pretty young. I was in my late 30s. Certainly too young to retire, not financially able to just sit back and do nothing forever. Even though we had our successes and I was comfortable, but you know, I knew I had to get on with other stuff. So I did. That's what I did. A little band called F5 developed and some other things.
I remember that band.
Yeah. And that was, quite honestly, that was just, you know, I kind of stepped back and went, all right, I guess cut my hair, get a real job, like rock and roll's over. That day has come. You know, Fender had called me about a job. I got the gig with Peavey. And as it turns out, more people started calling me saying, hey, can you play in this thing? And so we started writing. F5 started to develop, and they were younger guys. And so it's fun to just be, you know, part of a new generation of musicians. You know, they tuned their guitars different. They listened to different stuff than I did. And so I was, it kind of got me hip to what was really going on outside of the bubble of a big band like Megadeth. I was back down on the street being just a member amongst members again. And I liked it. My personality allowed me to do it. I know there's some people that probably couldn't. And I had to be very aware of that and just go, hey, you know, take the stairway down out of heaven, down to where just the regular people are now. You know, you're not in the big bubble of a big rock.
Yes, exactly.
You know, that's hard. That is a very hard thing to do. And so I just kind of went, all right, let me do it. So, but anyway, but then, you know, when Dave called back a couple years later and said that he'd had a record written. He really wanted it to be a solo album. He did not want it to be a Megadeth album, but the publishers and the record companies said, we want a Megadeth record. Like, you know,
system has failed, right?
Yeah. So, you know, that record was he was going to Nashville to record it. I really had no participation in it. And it was just kind of like, it did not feel like me and Dave coming together to make a Megadeth record. It almost seemed like Dave wanted to go to a solo record. New manager, new people, new team. They were very much on Team Dave. It just did not feel like it was Megadeth coming back together at all.
Yeah.
And so initially, I just stepped back.
Vinny on the drums, right? It's like.
Yeah. So again, it was Nashville musicians. It was session guys in Nashville. It was not like 4 guys in Megadeth getting back together to make a record. It was guys in Nashville making a record. So, you know, part of me, I just said, hey, Dave, by all means, move on, do your thing, you know. And of course we did. There were just disagreements about it, and look, you know, I'm not going to sit here and fight Dave over it. So it's like, look, take it and go, do your thing. And so it was very weird to watch, you know, this band that I helped start and was part of from the beginning, called Megadeth, move on without me. It was weird. I'm not going to lie. And
for us too.
Yeah. So I think it was very weird for everybody. And you know, in my mind, I kind of went, my days in Megadeth are not over. Like, this is going to come back around into the front view again. Rather than looking in the rear view mirror and regretting, I thought, let me just sit tight and we'll keep moving forward with my life. And the day will come around for us to reunite. And it did, of course, in 2010.
And how was it? What happened?
Well, you know, Dave and I had been talking during that period. You know, we had disillusion of our business interests, and of course, that's, you know, there's a lawsuit, there's legal shit. You know, lawyers get involved and all that crap. So,
Really?
That got settled. Yeah, I mean, it got settled. It's public. You can look it up on the internet. It's not like it's a secret, you know. So it's you know, it's but we resolved it and settled it and done. And then after that, Dave and I, I'd run into Dave a couple times when he came to town. He'd call me up. We'd get together. We'd have dinner. And I could tell, first of all, Dave and I have been brothers for many years, you know. Despite the band, despite all the dynamics of being in a band that Mike, you know, Chance, you're probably learning all about. Let's set that aside. Let's just break bread, hang out, be friends, talk about the family, what's going on. Naturally, the band thing would always come back around. And there were a couple conversations about me coming back. And for whatever reason, I wasn't ready. The universe wasn't ready. And then finally in 2010, you know, Megadeth had announced they were going to go do. It was interesting how it happened because Megadeth and Slayer were supposed to be doing the American Carnage tour, a big arena tour, and I remember my son. I had just come home from NAMM. This would have been January 2010, and ironically, Mike Portnoy was playing some Hail dates, and we were going up to Eddie Trunk.
Right.
We were going up to Eddie Trunk in New York, and the announcement came out that Megadeth was going to do. The Rest in Peace tour, that Tom Araya had injured his neck, needed to have surgery, so the Slayer Megadeth thing was going to be sidelined, and Megadeth was going to do the Rest in Peace tour. And Portnoy said to me, he goes, dude, you need to be there for that. Like, Mike was actually very encouraging. He goes, dude, that's just not right. You need to be there for that. And then lo and behold, like days later, like a couple days later, I get a phone call from the drummer Sean Drover and Dave's guitar tech Willie G and said, listen, ma'am, you know, I think Lomenzo's going to be out of Megadeth, and like we really need a bass player to go play Rest in Peace, and obviously you're the guy. And I said, well, look, let's do it, you know. And Sean got me and Dave on the phone, and it's funny because, you know, any feuds of years standing like really were gone in like 2 minutes. You know what I mean? And Dave just said, look, I'd love to have you back. Here's the terms of what I can do it for. And I would just love it. I said, look, let me throw some basses in the car. I'll drive over tomorrow. Let's get in a room. Let's plug in a jam. First, let's make music and see if that works, you know, because we can do that. Then the rest makes it. I always put the music first. Dave just put out a new book about the making of Rest in Peace. And it talked about an attempted reunion with Marty and Nick. Back in 2015 or 14 that didn't happen. And it was the same thing. It was like, it's got to be about the music first. And Marty Friedman even said the same thing. He goes, if I'm not feeling the music, I can't do it. There's not enough money, fame, nothing. None of that matters, you know. And Marty really, I think, puts his money where his mouth is. I mean, Marty has played, he jumped off the big Megadeth cloud and went back down and started playing little clubs and doing all that because he had to do what was in his heart, that he can sleep at night and have a smile on his face. And I think there's a big lesson in that for all of us. You know, they call it the golden handcuffs, right? Where you're chained to your fortune and fame, right? You know what I mean? It's like, I can't break free, you know? So, you know, I'm glad I've had that experience, you know, to be broken free of golden handcuffs and realizing that life out of Megadeth is okay too. It's more fun to be in Megadeth, and I'm appreciative that Dave and I have made it work, and we're friends, and you know, everybody has a role in the band. I saw someone ask some comments about, you know, contributions and that, and I said from the very beginning when I came back, we were writing the 13 album about a year after I came back, and I said look, let's get in a room and throw some ideas back and forth, and I could tell that was not the dynamic, like the dynamic that me and Nick and Marty Friedman and that we had back in the day, that was gone. That dynamic was not there. Dave very much wanted to shape the sound. He wanted to be in control of and that's the Dave I met post Metallica in 1983. So I already know that Dave, right? So I know that guy. I know when trying to be collaborative. I know when managers come in and try to write songs you know, I've been through every fucking possible scenario in Megadeth, trust me, every one of them. And I've seen them all. And I just said to Dave, I said, you know, dude, you write the songs. I'll play bass. I can do other things where I get to have my yayas. I said, let's just make it as easy and painless as possible. I said, I'm not here to just about the publishing. I got to have my hand. I said, look, everybody knows I'm a fucking good bass player. I'm here. Let's just make music together. And I really don't give a shit who writes the songs, you know, and step back and just be okay with that, you know, and that I think is always the easiest path forward, you know. And then if you end up writing something great, and if not, fuck it. No expectations, man. Just be on stage and make fans happy, man.
Yeah.
But hey,
you guys
that's one of the.
I was gonna say you guys have already all proven yourselves, so there's no more need to do that.
Yeah, it's
Wow, that's a typical accent, my friend. Canadian accent. You lost me.
You go back to Van Halen, you know, and all four guys had their names on the songs, but I kind of got the feeling Eddie probably wrote most of it. You know what I mean? And I don't know if that's true. I wasn't ever in the room with them, and obviously Sammy and Eddie, and you know, and Dave and Eddie, and every band's got their dynamic of how they do it. Obviously, Metallica, it's Hetfield, Ulrich, you know, down the list. Occasional Kirk Hammett contributions, and every band has their thing. And again, it's nothing's worse than you know, trying to force the square peg into the round hole. And some days, you know, the collaborations are just easy. I mean, Ellefson band is easy, and it might be my name on the door. I'm the boss, but I'm like, hey man, frickin' bring your ideas. Let's rock the shit. I'd rather it be collaborative, because in Megadeth, it's a different dynamic. So over here with this, I'd rather it be like, hey man, if Andy's got a great idea, let's do it. If I write the riff, let's follow that. Most importantly, let's just get the best song on the record to get it out to the fans so we can get going, you know, and get it rocking.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Nice. Hey, that's probably one of the best things that Sean Drover did his entire life, to bring you guys together again. Well,
I always said Sean is one of the best friends Megadeth has ever had. And Sean came in and kind of lived a little bit in the shadow of Nick Menza, because initially Nick was going to be there, and then that didn't work out. So actually, Glenn Drover, who was playing guitar with Dave at that time, said, "Hey, my brother can play these parts. He's a fan. He'll walk right in here and knock this out of the park," and he did. And Sean was great to play to. Had a great feel, really behind the beat. Kept kind of a Chuck Beeler feel. He had a real steady. He was a metronome. Sean was really great and a good friend, you know. So the legacy owes Sean a lot, you know, for what he was able to do in those 10 years he was there.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for that to share that with us. Well, we have just a few minutes before you leave, but I have a question from our guys. We have some guys here called the Clash Bulldogs. It's a band that follow us since the beginning of the show, and they really do awesome questions. So we've decided to have here their their own sketch, like the Clash Bulldogs make a question, right? So let me the question from them is like from Marcelo Brown is the singer. You played with two of the most legendary Brazilian guitarists, your own bandmate Kiko and Andreas Kisser, with Hail. By the way, it was a great performance playing Territory with these guys in Sepultura. It really was. Yeah. And do you know any other kind of Brazilian music besides metal? And if you listen other kinds of music besides metal in general?
I mean, I listen to all kinds of stuff. Everything from, it's funny. I don't listen to too much early Yes. My Yes is the 80s Yes, 90125. Kind of the Trevor Rabin era. That's his stuff that I like, you know. I listen to that. My daughter plays Post Malone, who I like and, become friends with. And I like, I'm a rock guy for sure. I mean, I'll listen to jazz and I can sort of appreciate it. I played in a jazz band in high school, so I appreciate it. And my jazz band teacher got me hip to a lot of different stuff. I don't really like it. I've studied it because if you study jazz, you kind of know everything about music. But I'm not really a fan of it. I like Al Di Meola. I mean, he's probably my guy.
Oh yeah.
Look, Django Reinhardt's certainly changed the course of kind of the nylon string stuff. So I mean, there's that. The Argentinians, I kind of got turned on to tango which I kind of like, you know.
Piazzolla.
Yeah, you know, so, you know, there's, yeah, look, you know, it's funny when you leave your sort of home, you know, and we all travel the world and you hear things and you're kind of like, wow, that's kind of cool. And you know, I buy everything digitally. I put it right here on my phone, so I've got it with me. When I travel the world in airplanes, most of my music listening is 5 miles above the ground in an airplane, you know. So I listen to a little bit of everything, you know.
Yeah, awesome. Hey, man, before you go, I just want to make a question to Chance so you can hear about his band.
Yeah.
So
please.
Chance, tell us a little bit about your band, Fawcett, and how is with your dad, if he helps you out and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, my dad is definitely my biggest inspiration. I've grown up on the road a lot with him and seen how it is out there, and I absolutely loved it from a young age. I feel like a lot of people, you know, they want to get into this rock and roll life without knowing what it really takes and what it has to offer. And being out there and seeing all of the good things that come with it and all the bad things that come with it has really shined a light on it for me. And I know now that it is what I want to do. So early on in high school, I've been like playing with a ton of musicians, and I formed this band called Fawcett, and it was the three of us, and it's remained the three of us. We've gone through different bassists and different singers and all that, but now there's four of us, and we just dropped our debut album this year, and it was really well received, which I'm really proud about, because I find debut albums can either go one way or the other, and overall it was very positive feedback. But yeah, my dad's really helped, you know, opening doors to like management companies and getting our name out there and getting press for us, which, you know, is a lot of help, but it doesn't take away from all the hard work we put into it. Because I know a ton of bands, and we work just as hard, if not harder than them. So it was, you know, I know it's biased to say, but I think anyone that does like the band and gels with us, it was well deserved. But my dad has definitely helped us a lot.
Well, Chance, it's kind of like a job interview. Your buddy can refer you, or your dad, but once you walk in the door, it's all about you. Your dad's not doing the interview or the audition, you know.
That's a really good way to put it, actually. Yeah.
Insane. Well, people, we will continue with Mike and Chance. I have to let David Ellefson go. Hey, man, thanks a lot for being here.
You're welcome.
It was
You're welcome. Mike, good to see you again. Chance, nice to meet you, man. I look forward to checking Fawcett out. So, yeah, cool. And people in Brazil, we will see you in 2021.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm waiting you here to make some jam with us. Mike will be here also for sure.
Yes, we'll record some bass there. Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Keep a channel and a fader up for me. I'll be right over as soon as I can get there.
And your Jackson, it's already here.
Perfect. Great. Even better. I don't even have to bring a bass. It's awesome.
All right,
guys. Thanks so much.
David,
Thanks, Thiago.
Thank you, man.
David.
Talk later. Bye-bye. So, what a great guy, man. It's out of the blue. Hey, Mike, tell me. I want to make a question to you.
Okay.
What are your feelings? It's funny to interview you, right? To make hey, Mike Orlando, what do you think about, you know? But really, what do you think about Brazil? What's your story here? Because when you're here, it's funny. It seems like you're almost a Brazilian already, you know? It's kind of sad, though. Just kidding.
Man, it's been a lot of shows, a lot of tours, a lot of clinics. My God, I think it started back in 2015. No, before that, Adrenaline Mob went on tour with Hailstorm, and we did. Yeah,
I remember that. It was your first time here, right?
Yeah, we did
with,
Chile. Mexico City. We did Sao Paulo. We did. I can't remember the exact dates, the places, but incredible tour. And I think that's where you met, possibly, Russell. I'm not sure if that's where you guys came into contact together. But...
No. Our first contact, it was actually with Megadeth in a concert here that was like a mess. They stopped the concert in the middle, like where I met Russ with Symphony X. But 1 year later, I met you guys at the with Hailstorm here in São Paulo. It was
But for me, so for me, it was in 15, I think, when we toured. We came back for a few weeks, and you guys were opening for Adrenaline Mob, and for me, that's when we became great friends, touring together. So, you know, from then on, my God, it really is a second home to me. It's insane. I mean, I love the people there. I said this before when I was talking to David about overseas fans and people, and there's just, you know, I say the same thing all the time. There's just a different passion for music. It's just that heart, you know, and that passion and fire inside. The fans over there are just they're so incredible. They just embrace. You know, I knew it when our first tour over there with Adrenaline Mob, and we were doing a song called "Indifferent," which was our first single off of Omerta. And when the first note, the entire place, they didn't know the words. So they sang the song. The entire place, you know, you're talking 1,000 people going, oh, 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 la, 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 oh, and they just chanting the music. And it's like, oh my God, like that's so incredible. No words, just everyone hopping and singing the music. You know,
it was when you fell in love with Brazil, right?
It's just insane. It's you know, and again, I mean, you guys are my second family there, so it's been we've been through a lot of crazy stuff, and my God, Rock in Rio twice, countless. I don't even know how many shows at this point. And,
who knows? We can make the third time, right? We did 2 times Rock in Rio.
We did Rock in Rio with
in the
Metallica,
the Sunset stage, then the Supernova. Hey, and speaking of which, I was talking to Chance to maybe bring them here to do something together. You see, so it will be. So that's my question to you. I have 2 questions to you, Chance. One is regarding Brazil. Do you know here? Do you know a little bit about our people, our music?
Yeah, I was fortunate enough a year ago, like this time, I was on tour with Dream Theater working as their meet and greet coordinator. So we went all the way through Brazil. I think it was 5 dates, Sao Paulo, Curitiba, Rio, and then we went to Argentina and Chile. But the time spent in Brazil was just amazing. It's like a magical place. It's a different place, you know, like it's different than everywhere else I've been. Like you were saying, Mike, the energy there at the shows is crazy.
Yeah.
Like there's so much energy in the people, but it's a magical thing for sure. I would love to bring the band down there, and everyone I met down there that I'm still talk to, you know, through Instagram or Facebook, they're like, yeah, bring Falset down here, bring Falset down here.
Yeah.
Come to Brazil, come to Brazil. And definitely one day we will, as soon as all this COVID stuff is cleared up.
Yeah.
100%.
Awesome.
Oh, tell me about it. And about your influences, of course, I don't need to ask, but how Newport changed your life?
Well, growing up in Canada, you know, everyone knows Rush, everyone listens to Rush, and I was a big fan since I was a kid. So, yeah, I was really sad to hear about his passing a few years ago. But I've heard about him through like Alex Lifeson and stuff. Like, just one of the nicest guys ever, and so like humble and down to earth. Amazing drummer. Thinks about drumming like no one else does. I remember like at some point far into his career, he like retaught himself how to play drums. Like just scrapped his like technique and everything and relearned, so it was better for him. Not necessarily easier in every way, but just better for him. And like I don't know, like the guy's a legend. He's a legend.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah.
Well, I gotta say this about Canada, because I just posted this Canadian artist. I mean, I just posted a clip like a week ago, one of my playing a favorite piece of mine from Rick Emmett, which is also the
Triumph.
other big. Yeah, everyone goes right to Rush and everything, but Triumph was an amazing band.
Man, Triumph is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, Rick Emmett, man.
Well, you have Celine Dion, Avril Lavigne, even Shania Twain, even that.
Nickelback.
Yeah.
Nickelback.
You know, man,
Yeah.
Nickelback is a great band.
I love them. I love them.
Yeah, I gotta be honest, I don't understand any of the BS that you hear about them, because when you see them live, when you see them live, they throw down.
Yeah, and they write great riffs, man.
Yeah,
their riffs are awesome.
Yeah, so you know, I never got that. One of the most successful bands in rock. I mean, maybe that's what it is.
Well, hey, yeah, exactly. When you're at the top, people try and tear you down, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. But they're great anyway. Nobody will take that from them for sure.
Yep.
Hey, I have a Mike. I have this question from Clash Bulldogs asks, and you are one of the main guitarists today, and you've developed a very unique, precise, fast, and full of punch technique. When we hear your licks, we realize in the first seconds that it's you. How was to develop this way of playing? Who were your influences?
I mean, I always, you know, the funny thing is, I didn't start listening to rock guys at all. My father started me listening to Les Paul and Mary Ford. Les Paul was an amazing, very fast country player, very clean, every note, ridiculous speeds. So that's what got me into the speed. You know, it was those guys, was Les Paul and Chet Atkins and you know, Al Di Meola back in the day. And then I got into rock, listening to Eddie Van Halen and Randy Rhoads and, you know, Akira Takasaki from Loudness, one of my favorite guitar players.
Yeah, wow.
There's so many. I mean, Ronnie Latecro from TNT was one of my favorites. John Sykes. Steve Vai, but the thing about it was, for me, I never wanted to copy or be any of them. You know, for me, it was really important to take what I learned from every one of them, throw it in a pot, stir it up, and come up with your own thing. I always say this to people. You know, it's so great this is for drumming as well, Chance. And if you read music, and you know, it's great that there's so much tablature out there. There's YouTube and there's DVDs and there's videos. I didn't have that when I was a kid.
Right.
I basically I learned what I thought they were doing, and in turn came up with my own way of, well, I think this is what my hero is doing.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and it just became my thing. And I have a real weird way of you know, when I play fast and everyone always says, hey, your hands just look strange. Okay, well, that's just a
little bit like the same
if
thing
it works for you, it works for
Marty
you.
Friedman, right?
Exactly.
Marty Friedman plays like
this. Yeah. Marty Friedman, such an incredible player. I have no idea how he does it like that. It's amazing. Same thing with me. I don't pick so much like you know, Yngwie Malmsteen, like you drawing a pencil. I play with my arm.
Yeah, with your arms.
Yeah. So there's a lot more involved muscle wise, like different muscles going on. But who cares? It's just, it worked for me. It was the way I figured out how to emulate my heroes. But it was a good thing, because I never copied one thing. So I just came up with my own style, you know.
Yeah, insane. Again, your style is really unique. I'm feel very very lucky to play with you, my man. I wanted to say this always out loud. You're one of my heroes. So feel kissed in the cheek. Don't get too excited. And Chance, one last question, because people are asking here. So let me just tell this to my Brazilian friends. Galera, desculpa, hoje o tempo muito curto com o David, não tive tempo de ficar traduzindo, porque ele pediu realmente 1 hora cravado, que ele tinha um outro compromisso na sequência, e eu não pude traduzir. Espero que vocês tenham entendido um pouco. Desculpa, eu fico me sentindo aqui, não sei exatamente o que eu faço, se eu paro e traduzo, ou se eu aproveito o tempo para falar um pouco mais. Mas eu vou falar um pouco mais com eles aqui, e daqui a pouco a gente vai se despedir. Então, se vocês quiserem fazer algumas perguntas, pode fazer em português mesmo aqui, que eu dou uma lida. A gente vai fazer, acho que uns 5 minutinhos, já estamos estourando o horário aqui. But before we go, people are asking here, Chance, do you like Justin Bieber?
Do I like Justin Bieber?
Yeah,
Yes.
What are your thoughts about him?
I think Justin Bieber's a talented musician.
Yeah.
He's great. Yeah. He's written, like, you know, a lot of like his old stuff was probably written by ghostwriters and super poppy, and they're just trying to sell this kid they just found. But like, if you listen to any of his stuff from, you know, recent, like even the past 3-5 years, it's really good stuff. Like, I've heard other musicians talk about him just walking into a studio and having tons of ideas in his head and melodies just flying out. Like, I think he's a, you know, incredible musician, great voice, great songwriter. Yeah, I respect him 100%. He's an easy target for everyone to hate on, right? So he gets a lot of hate, but I respect him.
Yeah, something like Nickelback, right? Because
exactly,
when you do those that kind of fame attract a lot of hate also, you know, I think. And when you're doing great, the way they are doing great, is I like Justin Bieber. He's really a super talented kid, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know how you can't like him, you know?
Yeah, you guys in Canada, it's a lot of talents there, huh? In a different way of artists. I love Shania Twain. I think that's one of the best. You know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, I have a question for Chance now. So can I like flip the? All right, cool.
Yeah.
So you growing up with your legend of a father, which we all love, you know, the great Chance Labrie and Dream Theater, and I'm curious to ask someone who has grown up with a father like a legend like that, because for me, I grew up, my father was Mr. America, and like the real Mr. America, and all the big, you know, titles he won. So, you know, it was always like, I'll never be like him. So I never even went near bodybuilding. It was like, no way am I ever going to be as good as my dad, being, you know, Mr. America. So, you know, he always said to me, just do what you do. Whatever you do it the best you can do. That's all I'm going to ask of you. For you, was it intimidating being on the road, being out there with him, and, you know, having a, you know, legendary singer as a father, and you still went down the path of rock?
Yeah, well, I think even especially when you're talking about a band like Dream Theater. Yeah, thanks for the question, Mike. I think when you're talking about a band like Dream Theater, that stands very true too, because they're at like a really high level of musicianship, right? But I don't know, like, I've never let that dampen my spirits at all. And I think a lot of that was from my father instilling so much confidence in me as a kid and saying, you know, like, no matter what you do, if you set your mind to it and you work hard and you put the time in, you will be successful. And, you know, I loved this lifestyle. I love rock and roll. You know, I loved everything about it. So I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to put my time and energy into. And yeah, it does, like, you know, like, there are people that will, you know, we've already seen it so far with Falsette, that they'll talk down on us because we're not Dream Theater, but we're not Dream Theater.
Yeah, it's like,
you know, like, so that, you know, I just remind myself that, like, we aren't Dream Theater, and like what we do, if it's not as like technically driven or if it's not as progressive, music is music. And if it resonates with one person out there, then I'm happy with that, you know? And we love doing it. So it's fun for us regardless.
That's fantastic, man. Cause I've had the same thing from my dad. You know, at first it was like, oh, I'm always going to fall short and not be, cause, you know, bodybuilding, it's one one goal, that big contest.
Yeah.
Not like music. There's so many great, incredible genres.
Yeah.
So I was always like, I'm always going to be,
below him. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't, it's just like I'd rather excel at something else that I think I could do, and I gave it everything I got, and that's why I play the way I play, just because my dad pushed me to just do what you do. You don't have to be me.
Exactly.
Hey, Mike,
I give you a lot of credit for still going down the rock path, because that's awesome.
Exactly.
Well, thanks, Mike.
And
thanks, Mike.
Mike touched very good matter, because I'm also a singer's son. My mom is a singer here in Brazil.
That's right.
She's alive, but she's retired.
Yeah.
And the way she changed my life, it was because she didn't wanna me to be a musician, because when I was young, she heard me singing she just invited me to be on stage with her to sing a song. And it was like a party, everybody, oh, you're so cute, he's singing. I was like 7 or 8 or 9, I don't know. And when I was like, oh man, I was so happy, did you like it? And she said, no, you're never gonna sing again. You're out of tune the whole time. You embarrassed me. She was like one of those, like Michael Jackson's father, a little bit.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Well, at least she was honest.
Yeah.
It changed me. It changed me, because it made me realize that if I were about to be on this road, I had to be not the best, this kind of thing, but at least the best that I can, And since I was very young, I was always driven by being in tune, singing in tune. And this is something that, that a lot of singers doesn't know how to do until this day. That's why we have so.
It's even easier now to get away with all that because of all the post-production people are doing. Like back in the day, you had to be a good singer to be a singer. Nowadays, you just have to be in a band and you're there. You're
exactly. And the Pro Tools does the rest. So
exactly. Yeah. But honestly, like your mom, your mom's doing that. It's good for a young child to hear, like, no, you're not the best, because then you strive to be better through your teens.
That's right.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. But it's insane. Hey, please give a big hug and a big kiss in your father's forehead. I love that man. He's my fucking hero. He knows that. He's like I call him my godfather, like, because he's like really a godfather to me, because I sing a lot because of him, And Dream Theater changed my life, and now I get to talk and play with my heroes. Look at this guy.
Crazy, man.
in your left there. I think it's your left. I don't know. And well, so we can say that we are lucky. And hey, man, congrats on your band. I will do everything that I can to bring you guys down here.
Yeah, you got to come over to Brazil. Yeah.
I would love that. Brazil's awesome, man.
We'll do something together for sure. That's the time we had, my friends, and it was awesome to have you here, Mike. It was lovely to finally have you here. I miss you, man. Really.
Miss you too. I miss you too.
We need to get together pretty soon. Finish that album that we're working on so hard.
We only have to hear it. Yeah, I think there's like 100 shows we have to make up.
Exactly.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Non-stop touring coming up.
Yeah.
Everybody's gonna be like on tour a lot after this vaccine.
Every venue is gonna be booked 7 days a week worldwide.
Yeah,
it's gonna be nuts.
That's gonna be the best thing. Let's just hope and pray that the smaller ones actually made it through COVID, because being out of business for freaking a year almost is gonna. I just hope they're still there.
Yeah, I've heard of a few shutting down already. It's sad.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, my friends, thanks a lot for you guys to be here. Chance, you are a sweetheart. Please we talk again about this Brazilian for sure. I'll talk to your dad. Maybe he can pull some strings. And Mike, well, I see you later, alligator, for us to continue our stuff.
I love you, brother. And Chance, it was an absolute pleasure to meet you.
It was a pleasure to meet you both. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. I'm gonna finish speaking Portuguese to my Brazilian pals. And thanks a lot again, okay?
Thank you.
Meus queridos, obrigado por ficarem com a gente até agora. Desculpem novamente o aperto aqui, foi difícil ficar nesse jogo de cintura, todo mundo com tempo corrido. Espero que vocês tenham entendido um pouquinho. Se não, depois pega no YouTube e coloca as legendas lá que elas geram automaticamente. Eu tô vendo os papos aqui, realmente a galera tá viajando, né? Tô achando engraçado pra caramba. E obrigado a todos vocês. Semana que vem tem mais. Hoje ainda não vou divulgar os próximos convidados, mas vai ser muito legal semana que vem. Vocês vão adorar. Só precisa uma confirmaçãozinha. Amanhã eu já digo para vocês. Mais uma vez, obrigado a Kiss FM, a Nação Rock maravilhosa, os nossos padrinhos de emissora, o Paul e o Evaldo, e a todos vocês que estiveram com a gente até agora. Semana que vem tem mais. Um beijo no coração. See ya. Thank you, my man.
Take it easy.
Thanks, guys.
Take it
Cheers.
easy. Bye-bye. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.